Welcome back to the pajama party. Yeah, yeah. Welcome back to the pajama party. Yeah, yeah. Welcome back to the pajama party. It's the pajama party. It's the pajama party. It's the pajama party. Woo, woo. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whew. Welcome back, friends. Welcome back to the place to be, the pajama party. Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me for another episode, the season finale of this season. And I am quite excited. I've been excited about this audit. Funnily enough, I started off very hyped up and very excited about today. Yesterday, I was excited about today, but now that we're here, I have a headache out of this world, okay? But I'm gonna try to give you energy, as much energy as I can, but your girl is slightly struggling up in here. But I did not want to put this off. I love being able to record and to do this for you, and since the light fixtures is low, and all I have to do is sit here and talk, I'm like, there's literally no reason that you cannot get this together and do this. And so, welcome back, friends. I hope that you've been well. I hope that life has been treating you so kindly here. And I just hope that, right now, currently, you just feel great and at peace, and that you just feel, yeah, comforted, and just all the good feelings that one can have. Hopefully there's nobody out there with any yucky feelings, but if so, hey, today is almost over. It's gonna be a new day soon. You're gonna be okay, bubs. Okay, so please bow your heads, close your eyes, and open your hearts. Let's get ready to pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing me to be here before your children one more time. Thank you for being with me and carrying me for another 10 weeks, Lord. And I just pray, Father, that everything I've done will be used to give you the glory, honor, and praise that you deserve. I ask right now that you will fall afresh on me, that you would anoint my mouth, my hands, my voice, my feet, Lord. That whatever it is you want to say to your children, please use me. I am your willing vessel. I ask that you would just give me strength, Lord, and that you would just speak through me to your children. That something I say will fall on fertile ground, that I can help somebody, Lord, and even not me, that you will help somebody, Father, and just use me in a way where you can have an encounter and a relationship with your children. And Father, just thank you for getting me through another day, and for getting me through content, Lord, and just for being my backbone and my strength. Thank you for a great day, Father, for a peaceful day. And Lord, I just ask that right now you would bless everybody under the sound of my voice. Whether they're viewing this or listening to this, Lord, I just ask that you would fill their lives, that you would fill their hearts and minds with your presence, that you would surround them, Lord. I ask that you would stretch forth your gentle hands, and that you would envelop us all, Lord, in your palm. Please don't go far from us, Lord. Stay near. We want you right here. I ask for healing. I speak peace and prosperity over your children, Lord, just that they may know you, Father. And all these things I thought to ask for, but didn't. I ask you granted your grace. In Jesus' name I give thanks and pray. Amen. And Lord, please forgive me for any sins I may have committed knowingly or unknowingly on today. Amen. All right, friends. So I've been very excited to uh, do this talk, and especially because I feel like it was confirmed today. I asked my mom this question first, and she had a revelation today, and so that kind of made me feel very special because I felt like, it's one of those things where I'm on track with God. Like, I ain't tripping. He is actively speaking to me. I'm doing well. We're rocking it out. And so I wanted to leave you, I guess, with this question until we talk again, because I really just want you to think about it. And I know, some people are going to catch this at different times, and that's okay. But whenever you do run across this video and you view it, I want you to tell me, what have you learned in this season of your life? Like, up to thus far, what has God shown you till now? What is the lesson that you've had to learn in this past season? Whether the season is just starting or just ended, I do feel like, I've said this a lot of times, I do feel like a season has ended for me. And I know technically a season is ended for me when I post this, but I feel like a season has ended for me. And I am very excited to see what this new season is all about. And because it's been great so far, okay? If it's connecting up how I've thought it, how it's lined up, it really truly has been amazing. And I just feel like so many great things are coming because um I'll dwell or go into this a little bit more if I don't forget, but I've reached a year of chasing my dreams and trusting God with the process of it all. And it's been a year. I walked away from some things, and so I just feel very hopeful, and I'm very excited to see what else is about to happen in this season. I just feel like this will be a positive season for me, and I'm really truly just ready to see everything that the Lord is about to do for me. But I know what hard seasons are like too, and so I'm here to remind you and encourage you. If you feel like you're in a rainy season, like, there's gonna be some green grass soon, like, there's going to be some flowers in your garden. There's going to be some tall, beautiful oak trees. Just don't give up. Keep hope alive. And I know it can be hard to do, especially when you look around and you see the world, and you have to be so careful to not see it just for what it is. You have to remember who we are trusting in and who we are putting our hope in. It's not the world, it's God, and he has overcome the world. So why should we fear or be shaken up or worried about anything concerning his promise to us? So with that being said, I really don't know where this is gonna go, but there was a few people that we talked about in the Bible that I just kind of want to briefly go back into and talk to you about their stories again, and tell you what I think that they learned and basically how it applies to us. So the first people we're going to take a look at, we're going to go to the book of Daniel. Now, the book of Daniel, I just started reading Daniel. I am trying to make it a habit to go back and read all the books of the Bible in the Old Testament that I have missed, and or just like didn't really pay too much attention to. And so Daniel is one of these people. Okay, so the first story we're going to read is Daniel chapter 3. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits, and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent together the princes to gather together the princes, the governors, and the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Then the princes, the governors, and captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces were gathered together until the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then the herald cried aloud, to you it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up. And whoso falleth not down and worshipeth, shall the same hour be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. Therefore, at that time, when the people heard the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and all kinds of music, all the people, the nations, and the languages fell down and worshipped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Wherefore, at that time, certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. They spake and said to the king Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. Thou, O king, hast made a decree that every man that should hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music shall fall down and worship the golden image. And whoso falleth not down and worshipeth, that he should be cast into the midst of a burning furnace. There are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. They have not served thy gods, nor worshipped the golden image which thou hast set up. Then King Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do not ye serve my gods, not worship the golden image which I have set up? Now if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 17 times more than it was wont to be heated. Then he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen, their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake, and said unto his counselors, Did not we cast three men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king. He answered and said, Lo, I see four men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt, and the form of the fourth is like the Son of God. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire. And the princes, governors, and captains, and all the king's counselors being gathered together, saw these men, upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was an hair of their heads singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of fire had passed on them. Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him, and have changed the king's words and yielded their bodies that they might not serve nor worship any god except their own God. Therefore I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which speak anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other God that can deliver after this sort. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. Okay, so that's the first little story that I want to read to you guys. And the reason why I chose that one is because, you know, these three boys and Daniel, they were basically captives. You know, they were slaves. They were sent here to Nebuchadnezzar after kind of like the fall of Israel, you know, and so they have been captors and they're in Babylon, you know, or they have been captured and they are in Babylon. And at first when they first go, their names have been changed, you know, they were like, you know, they were lookers. And so Daniel was like, we don't want to eat from the king's, you know, like we don't want his meat. We don't want none of that. Just give us vegetables and water. And the guards were like, and Daniel's like, well, put us to the test. You know, like if we eat this food and in 14 days you don't see like a change in us, then we'll relent. But they grew up, okay? They became stocked out. Eat your vegetables, friends, okay? It will help you in the time of trouble. And so Daniel is not with these other three, but in this moment, you know, they have been appointed, and I think truly what it really boils down to every time for me is that jealousy can really take over you if you are not careful. Because these three dudes, they weren't hurting nobody, but the Chaldeans were like, the Jews, you see the Jews out here not getting it together, because you know they weren't gonna fall for that. And I think really they just wanted the Jews exterminated anyways, because they held a grudge against them. You know, they looked down on them, especially with them being like slaves, you know, and being brought there. They had their nose up at them essentially. And so, you know, they tell the king, like, they're not worshiping, they're not doing what you said do, because, oh, king, you said everybody should do it. And quite frankly, the king should have been like, well, if you had your head down worshiping, how would you know somebody else? You know what I'm saying? Like, how would you know? But anywho's, so he questions these three dudes and he's like, what's the beef? And they're like, there is no beef. But you're sitting here, you know, like you're telling us to worship you and we can't do it. Like, you know, that's not how we're set up. We're set up to worship the one true living God. And so the king Nebuchadnezzar is not having it. He's like, oh, this guy can't save you. And the fact that he even had to, or the fact that he was so angry, he wanted to, or he made them heat up the furnace like 7 times hotter than what it was. That's just cruel, you know? And like it was so hot that his own men, they were the ones getting killed, you know? But there was nothing that befell Shadrach, Meshach, or Abednego. And this story has always made me, because to just think about God, like in the fire with them, walking amongst them, you know, like keeping them safe. And like even for Nebuchadnezzar to not be a believer, for him to see and recognize like that is the Son of God in there with them, like walking around, you know, amongst them. And so I truly believe that those three learned that even when it is life or death, like the one who holds your life in his hands is Jesus. And so if he has a plan for you, he is gonna protect you and he is not gonna let bad things befall you. He's not gonna let nothing happen to you. Like he is gonna keep you safe. And that is a lesson that these boys learned and saw for themselves firsthand, because he didn't forsake them. Like he was right there with them in the fire, and they had the kind of faith and love for God. They were like, all right, king, if he will deliver us, but even if he will save us, but even if he don't, like, he'll deliver us from you. Like, you won't have the final say. And it's that bold confidence in the Lord to be like, he got my back. And then for him to show up and actively, have their back and be exactly who that he was, that they said he was. It's just amazing. Like, I think you should read all of Daniel. That's just one of the stories that made me just okay. So now we're gonna go to Daniel 6, because I also like this story. And this was also another story that I read. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom. And over these three presidents, of whom Daniel was the first, was first, that the princes might give accounts unto them, and the king should have no damage. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes, because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. Then the presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could not find no occasion nor fault. For as much as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him. Then said these men, we shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against this, or find it against him concerning the law of his God. Then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king and said to him, King Darius, live forever. All the presidents of the kingdom, the governors, the princes, the counselors, and the captains have consulted together to establish a royal statute, to and to make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save O thee, O king, he shall be cast into the den of lions. Now, O king, establish a decree and sign the writing, that it be not changed according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which authoreth not. Wherefore King Darius signed the writing and the decree. Now when Daniel knew that this writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber towards Jerusalem, he knelt upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as he did aforetime. Then these men assembled and found Daniel praying and making supplications before his God. Then they came near and spake before the king concerning the king's decree. Hast thou not signed a decree that every man that shall ask a petition of any god or man within 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of the lions? Then the king answered and said, This thing is true according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not. Then answered they and said before the king, That Daniel which is of the children of the captivity of Judah, regarding not thee, O king, nor the decree that thou hast signed, but maketh his petition 3 times a day. Then the king, when he heard those words, was sore displeased with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. Then these men assembled unto the king and said unto the king, Know, O king, that the law of the Medes and Persians is that no decree or nor statute which the king established may be changed. Then the king commanded that they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of the lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, Thy God whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee. And a stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den. And the king sealed it with his own signet and with the signet of his lords, that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. Then the king went to his palace and passed the night fasting. Neither were instruments of music brought before him, and his sleep went from him. Then the king rose very early in the morning and went in haste into the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel. And the king spake and said unto Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living God, is thy God whom thou servest continually able to deliver thee from the lions? Then said Daniel unto the king, O king, live forever. My God hath sent his angel and hath shut the lion's mouth, that they have not hurt me. For as much as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I not done no hurt. Then the king was exceedingly glad for him and commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no manner of hurt was found upon him, because he believed in his God. And the king commanded, and they brought those men which had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions. Them, their children, and their wives, and the lions had the mastery. Okay, and their wives. And the lions had the mastery of them, and break all their bones in pieces, or ever they came at the bottom of the den. Then King Darius wrote into all people, nations, and languages that dwell in the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom men tremble and fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God and steadfast forever. And his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall be even unto the end. He delivereth and rescueth, and he worketh signs and wonders in heaven and in earth, who had delivered Daniel from the power of the lions. So this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian. Okay, so this is still in Daniel, right? But Daniel was trying to test it because Daniel was gonna worship God anyway. And I just want to put a side note in here. It's funny how people will hype you up and say that they are doing things for your benefit or for your good, but ultimately it's serving their agenda, because these people, they didn't want what was best for the king. Absolutely not. It wasn't even about the king. They hyped him up, making him think it was about him and his power, but really they tried to have the power play over him, like they set him up for failure essentially, and he went with it because, oh, he's the king, but just be careful. I've said this before, I'm sure, but be careful who you let in your ear, and be careful who you give counsel to, because people will make it seem like they have your best interest at heart, and it can be the ones closest to you that you would never suspect it from that can trick you and do you the most harm. And I mean, trick you, but they can be the ones that deal the deadliest blows. And so just be cautious and mindful, when people are giving you advice and telling you this and that. I would say, like, yes, take advice, but you should also pray to God and ask him to give you an answer, because he's gonna give you clarity about that situation, whether it's a feeling or whether it's him literally confirming it in a dream or through somebody else. He's not going to let you walk into a season alone where you're unsure and you're worried about, what is the right and wrong thing to do. Them men thought that they had Daniel. They wanted to take him out because they had a vendetta against God, which is so crazy to me that they would want to stop. And once again, it's because they didn't want to see this man doing better than him. He's worshiping this beautiful God, and they not understanding like how he is so blessed in his light in his life, and they causing havoc on him literally because the Lord made him that way. And that's crazy to me. So I believe that Daniel learned, even in the face of a lion, the Lord, he is the Lion of Judah, first of all. He is our Alpha and Omega. Like, he is going to protect us. Once again, even when faced with death, even when an enemy, I'm pretty sure that lion, I think lions are so beautiful, okay? Let me just say, I try not to be all up into the signs and stuff, but I am a Leo, and I remember I was being so hard on myself because I had got this tattoo that represents the Leo. And I remember God told me, he said, I was the Lion of Judah before you ever even knew about astrology. Like, before you ever even knew about any of that, I was the lion. So you don't have to feel shame about what you did, because you do represent the lion. You just represent me. It's not what you think it is. I'm the true lion. So, anywho's, I just find it so beautiful that First of all, the king knew. He knew God would protect him because he said, "May God, like, deliver you." And then the fact that Daniel was probably, baby, I would have been shaking in my boots. Well, I mean, if I'm probably, I still would have been shaking in my boots at first. I'm pretty sure I probably would have calmed down eventually because, like, the Lord was there. He sent his angel. He's here. He's making all things new. But I would have been a little skeptical, like, Father, please keep those teeth away from me. And I always thought, like, oh, I'm gonna want to take care of lions, and oh, I want to look at lions, not them. We're good on it. We're good on it. But so yes, I feel like Daniel really just learned that God was faithful and true, to him. Even in the lion's den, he was saved because he believed in God. All he had to do was believe in God, and he was saved because of his belief. Like, that is so beautiful to me. Okay, so next we're going to Ruth. Okay, Ruth chapter 4. Then went Boaz up to the gate and set him down there, and behold, the kinsmen of whom Boaz spake came by. Unto whom he said, Ho, such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, Sit ye down here. And they sat down. And he said unto the kinsmen, Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land, which was our brother Elimelech's. And I thought to advertise thee, saying, Buy it before the inhabitants and before the elders of my people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know. For there is none to redeem it besides thee, and I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. Then said Boaz, What day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must also buy. Wait, okay. What day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth, the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar mine own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. Now this was the matter in former time in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changing. For to confirm all things, a man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony in Israel. Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, Buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe. And Boaz said unto the elders and unto all the people, Ye are witnesses this day that I have brought all that was Elimelech's, and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon its inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place ye are witnesses this day. And all the people that were in the gate, the elders said, We are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is come into thine house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel, and do thou worthily in Ephratah, and be famous in Bethlehem, and let thy house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went in unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. And the women said unto Naomi, Blessed be the Lord, which had not left thee this day without a kinsman, that his name may be famous in Israel. And he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life, and the nourisher of thine old age, for thy daughter-in-law which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons had borne him. And Naomi took the child and laid it in her bosom, and became a nurse unto it. And the women, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, There is a son born to Naomi, and they called his name Obed, and he is the father of Jesse, the father of David. Now these are the generations of Perez. Perez begot Hezron, and Hezron begot Ram, and Ram begot Aminadab, and Aminadab begot Nahshon, And Nashon begot Solomon, and Solomon begot Boaz, and Boaz begot Obed, and Obed begot Jesse, and Jesse begot David. Okay, so a little bit of backstory here. So Ruth and Naomi, so really it was Naomi. There was this lady named Naomi, right? She had a husband and she had two sons. Now, one of her daughters, so her husband ends up dying, right? He ends up dying. So now she has her two sons and they take wives for themselves. Now, excuse me, Ruth is the wife of Malon, and he and the husband is he and the other brother are killed. So now Naomi has nobody. Like the other daughter-in-law has ever what has left, but Ruth is staying by her side, and Naomi's like, well, I'm just gonna go back to my hometown because like there's nothing here for me. Like, where were they living? Okay, they were in Moab, but they were going back to Judah, and so basically Ruth was like, Naomi, I'm not leaving you, because Naomi was telling Ruth like, there's nothing left here. Okay, there's no joy, there's only sadness, like everything's taken away from me. My sons is gone, my husband is gone. Like, you need to go and live your life, Ruth. And Ruth was like, I'm gonna stay with you, I'm gonna stick with you. So she sticks with her. She goes with her back to her homeland, and there she ends up gleaming in these fields, right, in the king's fields at that. And so when the king sees her, it's like love at first sight. That's his baby Ruth. And so at the end of this chapter, it's saying that he basically brought her in like the possession of her in her land and Naomi's land, that nobody could do any wrongs against them. Like their debts were clear, it was settled, like they were back restored in the right standing. And from their marriage and their union, not Jesse, but Jesse, but David is born. Like he falls into this lineage. And I just find it really amazing that, Ruth, she didn't know nothing about these people, but she knew Naomi, and she loved Naomi to be like, where you go, I go. Your God will be my God. Like, you're my left cheek, I'm your right cheek. She was very comforting, and she was there for her. And I just think that is so, that loyalty, like that's beautiful. And so they go, and she's gleaming in this field, like picking up the leftovers, trying to make something. And the king sees her, and he's like, this is baby Ruth. And so they get married, they do the thing, they do all the things, and they she bears a son. And so I think what I believe what Ruth learned in here is God is faithful, and like she didn't even grow up worshiping him, like Naomi did. And it just shows you like God can use anybody from any background. Like he can take anybody from any belief system, from any denomination. If he wants you, he's gonna grab you. It does not matter where you're at. It doesn't matter if you try to run for him. Like once you're marked and chosen, that's on you. And considering he marked us and chose us before now, like that is on you. And so Ruth, she just saw his grace and his mercy, and he restored so much to her that she lost. And not only her, but Naomi too, like Naomi had a friend who was gonna stick with her to the end. She had a daughter, somebody who was not gonna give up on her and like turn her back on her. And that loyalty, it paid off. And that loyalty and that bond and serving somebody else. And like Ruth, she could have been just as like I think the other one was named Oprah. She could have just been like and left just like Oprah, but she didn't. She stayed and she loved on Naomi. And so just to see like everything blow up for them in the end, it makes my heart sing. It makes me happy because you got you a king in the end, girl. Like, yeah, shout out to it. Okay, the next one we're going to is Acts 9. This one should be very familiar. We're talking about Paul. Saul converted into Paul. And Saul, yet breathing out threatenings and slaughter against the disciples of the Lord, went unto the high priest, and desired of him letters to Damascus to the synagogues, that if he found any of this way, whether they were men or women, he might bring them bound into Jerusalem. And as he journeyed, he came near Damascus, and suddenly there shined round about him a light from heaven. And he fell to the earth, and heard a voice saying unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And he said, Who art thou, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Jesus, whom thou persecutest. It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. And he, trembling and astonished, said, Lord, what wilt thou have me to do? And the Lord said unto him, Arise and go into the city, and it shall be told to thee what thou must do. And the men which journeyed with him stood speechless, hearing a voice, but seeing no man. And Saul arose from the earth, and when his eyes were opened, he saw no man, but they led him by hand and brought him into Damascus. And he was there 3 days without sight, and neither did eat nor drink. Now, I know in the other stories I was reading the endings, but in this one I read the beginning. And really, I wanted to use the beginning of this one because Saul had to learn when, once again, he had to learn, Paul had to learn, when God tells you something, you must obey. Like his word is final. And if he wants to shake up your life and redirect you, he is going to do it. I believe Paul learned that God's plans for us is not always our plans, but in the end, God's plans are so much better than what we ever had envisioned for our life. Because had Paul not had that ever encountering moment with Jesus, and this one doesn't say it, but when he was smote off that ass, I just I love reading when he smote off of the horse. Like, that is right. I don't know why. I don't know why, because I hate when I get rocked and shook, but I don't know. It's just something about seeing truly, like, I think what it is a lot of the things that the Lord did, I would have just wanted to see him for myself. Because to think that he is just out here like knocking people off horses. I know, I know. That is a thing. But you know, he's knocked off. Not only him, his friends are knocked off. They don't see nothing, but they hear a voice. And I bet you that is terrifying, because I was telling my best friend this, but I have these balloons on my door, and that she got me for my birthday. And so now that they're deflating, they kind of rub against each other whenever I have my fan on. And let me tell you, if I'm too sleep deprived or just too jumpy, you know, I would think that something's in this room and it's just them balloons. So point is, to even hear something like that and to see no man, I would have been like, who is it, Lord? Like, who is it? But so that was when Paul really encountered God, his first real encounter with him, and it was in a life-changing moment. It was in a dramatic way, you know, that the Lord brought him to his knees, quite literally. Okay, now we're going to Job. We're going back to Job. Then Job answered the Lord. This is chapter 42. Then Job answered the Lord and said, I know that thou canst do everything, and that no thought can be withholden from thee. Who is he that hideth counsel without knowledge? Therefore have I uttered that I understood not, things too wonderful for me which I knew not. Hear, I beseech thee, and I will speak, and I will demand of thee, and declare thou unto me. I have heard of thee by hearing of the ear, but now mine eyes seeth thee. Wherefore I abhor myself and repent in dust and ashes. And it was so that after the Lord had spoken these words unto Job, the Lord said to Eliphaz the Temanite, My wrath is kindled against thee and against thy two friends, for ye have not spoken of me the thing that is right, as my servant Job had. So I believe that Job learned, you mess around and you find out. No, but I wanted to staple Job in here because Job learned that even though he really truly learned that he had viewed God wrong. He had gotten it slightly wrong, He always knew that the Lord was merciful, and just, but he didn't know about his grace and his love, and he was trying to put God in a box and figure out like why it was that God did this or why it was that God did that, and like define who God was through faulty lenses. And that's why the Lord was like, gird up your loins like a man. And last week when I was editing the video, my mom was like, something got you giggling. And I told her, I don't know why, but that is still such a funny back and forth for me to see the Lord be like, put your pants on like a man. Let's talk about this and get this right, because you're not going to do this. And so yeah, he had to learn that, he was wrong about God in a sense. But even though he was wrong, like, the Lord still worked with him. He still got it together and got his mental game on. Okay. And the last one, because it's on my heart to read this. We're going to read Jonah chapter 4. But it displeased Jonah exceedingly, and he was very angry. And he prayed unto the Lord and said, I pray thee, O Lord, was not this my saying when I was yet in my country? Therefore I fled before into Tarshish, for I knew that thou art a gracious God, and merciful, slow to anger, and of great kindness, and repentest thee of evil. Therefore now, O Lord, take, I beseech thee, my life from me, for it is better for me to die than to live. Then said the Lord, dost thou will to be angry? So Jonah went out of the city and sat on the east side of the city, and there made him a booth, and sat under it in the shadows, till he might see what would become of the city. And the Lord God prepared a gourd, and made it to come up over Jonah, that it might be a shadow over his head, to deliver him from his grief. So Jonah was exceedingly glad of the gourd. But God prepared a worm when the morning rose the next day, and it smote the gourd, that it withered. And it came to pass, when the sun did arise, that God prepared a vehement east wind, and the sun beat upon the head of Jonah, that he fainted and wished to himself to die, and said, it is better for me to die than to live. And God said to Jonah, dost thou well to be angry for the gourd? And he said, I do well to be angry, even unto death. Then said the Lord, thou hast had pity on the gourd, for the which thou hast not labored, neither madest it grow, which came up in the night and perished in the night. And should not I spare the Nineveh, should I not spare Nineveh, the great city, wherein are more than 60,000 persons that cannot discern between their right hand and their left hand, and also much cattle? So I have had a couple of Jonah moments in my life. I am not going to lie to you. I've had some moments where I've just been angry and angry with God and like, God, woe is me and take me out. And my mom's like, my grandma too, she's like, stop telling the Lord to take you out, because if he take you out, I believe it's just one of those things. She's like, stop playing with this man before he gives you what he wants. And then we are left here. Like, she would not be able to comprehend it. And I do. I please do not tell the Lord to take you out, okay? Because sometimes I do be joking, but yeah, I have to remind him, like, Lord, that was just a jokey joke. I really don't want you to take me out. Like, I just use that when it's too stressful for me. But I have had some days where I have legit wished for my life to be ended because it felt too hard. And I'm like, listen, buddy, you really can just KO me and bring me to heaven right now. I could be with you. I ain't got to worry about the rest of this stuff. Like, bring me to kingdom come right now. But, even Jonah, Jonah, backstory about him, this man, the Lord told him to go and do something. He thought that he was just going to up and not do what the Lord told him to do. And so he gets on this boat, and basically this bad storm comes. He ends up in the belly of a fish, of a whale. And so he's sitting there, and Jonah is basically like, this is not for me, Lord. I am so sorry I was out here wilding, but like, if you deliver me, I'm going to do what you say, like, I'm going to get it together. So the Lord delivers him, and he goes to Nineveh, where he's supposed to like preach to them and speak to them about like repentance and turning back to the Lord. And so when he went, everything was great. Like people were saved. It was a great time. Jonah was not having it. He was so mad that these people had got saved and sanctified. And Jonah's like, I know that you are a merciful God. Like, I know that you're the great I am. And I told you like this was going to happen. So why did I have to come here and deal with this and these people? And I really don't understand why Jonah had beef, because when I think about saving souls and like getting people, to the Lord, it is such a great feeling. But Jonah was like, not on my day off. We don't want it. I don't know. Jonah was just, and I think it's probably too one of those things where you look at a person, you look at a culture, and you might not be well acquainted with their culture, and you have your own stigmas and your own perceptions about people, and so you judge them, but you can't stop what God wants to start. Who are you to say who is qualified to receive his blessing and not receive his blessing? Like, who are you to put check marks by people's names? Because at the end of the day, like I always say, we are all out here trying to thrive and survive. We are all out here trying to get it together and be better people. And so for Jonah to be so upset instead of just doing what the Lord say do, and it reminds me of how I said before, like people, they'll look at you and they'll judge you, and think like she don't deserve that nice car because I work a 9 to 5 like she work a 9 to 5. How she get that nice car? Or, she was just out here club hopping 2 Sundays ago and now she's sitting up here saying she said, like, people will always try to judge you when they don't know your story. And that's why you really have to be careful when you look at other people, from the outside looking in, because you never know what a person is going through, and you don't know how that person is going to turn out. The Lord takes the ordinary ones. The Lord takes ones that people dog walk and trash talk to, and he does the greatest things for them. So that's why I try to remind you always, be so careful who you talk about, and be so careful who you're quick to condemn and judge, because first of all, we all have sins and we are all falling short and we are all going through things, in everyday life. And it is not fair for you to throw projections on other people or to judge anybody or to esteem yourself better than anybody, because we are not better than nobody. There is nobody out here better than anybody else, and to just be like, oh, I'm better than her. No, because listen, we are all sinning. We are all falling short. We are all having uphill battles, okay? Everybody is going through it. So don't just be happy with what the Lord gives you, and just be so kind when you're thinking on others, because once again, you have seen your life and the walks that you've been walking. Every day ain't been peaches and greens for you, and I'm pretty sure there's some skeletons in your closet that you'd gasp if the right people went a digging and a poking in your closet. And so those were the stories I wanted to read you. And to answer this question, because I have been pondering this, but I feel like in this past season of my life, just this season alone, there is so much that I've learned that I can't like just pinpoint it down to one thing. So this last little bit is just kind of going to be like a little quick ramble of me. And then I'm going to let you go, put the scriptures together and let you go. But, one thing I've learned what hardships is. I thought that I knew before this past year of my life what a hard time was, and I did not. And not to say that other parts of my life haven't been hard in their own ways, but living life has taught me it can always be so much worse. It can, and it absolutely will, because when they get real, or like when they get crucial real, you know the difference. I've learned that I need to trust myself more intuitively, and I want to tell this story quickly because I don't know who needs to hear it, but I was thinking about this, and so I never try to disclose names. If you watch a Pox Perspective, I'll tell stories there, but I try to be very careful about telling people's names because the names are not important. The story is, I feel like what I've learned from it and what God showed me is important. And so there was this person that I was trying to get close to about a year ago now. And at the time, I just assumed that we were friends. We were just good friends, and I really wanted her to be a best friend. I placed more importance on her than I felt like I should have, only because I realize now, like, I placed it a lot faster than what I should have, and because truly she was good at feeding me what I wanted to know. It made me believe that we were so much more than what we were not. And like when she finally revealed to me what she had done to like gain my friendship, it threw me for the wildest loop. But to tell you the story, one night I was at her house, and I'm gonna just say things quickly went left. And I remember feeling this big pressure and this weight on me. And y'all, I could not understand it for the life of me what was going on. And so it was like I could see this black shadow, like close to her kitchen because of the way her house was laid out. It's a thing, but I could see this black shadow, and there was this voice telling me to take this girl out. I kid you not. It was like, you need to take her out. You could take her out, get in your car, go to wherever, start your life anew. Like, you got this money stashed up. You could run away. You could really do it. And then it went from that to like, she's going to murder you. Like, you're not going to walk away from this house tonight. Like, but it was kind of one of those situations where, because to not give too much away, I couldn't leave. Let's just put it like that. I was not in the capacity to leave. Um, and for whatever reason, I didn't really think about calling my parents because honestly, on one hand, I really thought I was tripping. Like I thought I was tripping. I thought that I just needed to get it together and get it together fast. And so that night, um, I so she had these two dogs, and usually her dogs, they go sleep with her. Like if I sleep over, they sleep with her in like wherever room she was at, what have you. But that night, y'all, the dog slept with me, and I could not believe, because especially one of them, because she was always under her. She was never really under me. The guy dog, he was like, that was my friend. We was friends to the end. But both of them slept in front of me, and I was telling my friend how, when I was first ever falling asleep, the dogs were just barking. They were barking. I believe the dogs, they know. Like, they know things that humans don't know, and they were just barking up a storm. And the next day when I woke up, I said a prayer because I always try to say my prayers, read my Bible before I go to sleep because it eases me. And so the next day when I woke up, the dogs were just sitting there looking at me. And when like we were all waking up and getting it together, that's when they left my side. But I just found it quite incredible to have that, and to have that. I feel like it was a spiritual attack because it wasn't just that. It was like I felt a lot of emotions. I felt a lot of, I want to be vulnerable, but like I guess I want to choose. So just know, like, it wasn't just the murder that I was feeling like that was gonna take. It wasn't just the dangers of that. It was dangers of other things that I knew could not happen, and it was a situation where I really had to control myself and my mental. And I think more than anything, I thought I was projecting because I did not know that people could make you like feel what they want you to feel if they're very good at doing you like that. And so it was something that threw my mind on a loop and on a tangent because for so long I thought I was crazy, and I thought it was me, and I was really hard on myself. And so I say all that to say, intuitionally, like, I do believe the Lord will let you know He will let you know when you are in danger, and he will let you know when something's not right. And anything could have went wrong. I'm not gonna, like I say, I don't want to touch too much of that story, but just know anything could have went wrong that night. And spirits are very real, and you need to be very careful, thinking that that stuff is not real and that people can't send stuff to you or latch onto you, because yes, they can, and you need to be very careful with that stuff. And so intuitionally, I feel like I've learned, and I've had to learn repeatedly, to trust my instincts and my intuition and that like little whisper of a voice, because that can truly be God saving your life and like talking to you and revealing to you things you need to know for places you go or for people you are around. And I'm still getting better at that. That is one thing I feel like I am still working on getting better at. But that's one thing. Another thing I feel like I've learned is just that, you know, uh other little lessons I think I've learned along this journey thus far has been, I've always been so critical and so hard on myself for being sensitive. I'll cry about anything. I'll cry about anything. Anything can hurt my feelings, Like I say, when I love hard. Like, and that gets me in trouble a lot, because when I meet somebody new, I am so ready, especially people who like I can see past of myself in them. I want to latch onto them. Like, I want to love them. I want to help them. And you can't always be like that with people, because people will really take your kindness for weakness, and they will try you, or they will just do the unthinkable. And I used to really, really wish that I was more meaner than what I was. I used to always be like, man, if I was meaner, this wouldn't happen to me. And if I was like a jerk to people, my life would be so much easier. But I never could be that person. It's very hard for me to be mad at anybody. It's very hard for me to be mean or to have an attitude with anybody. Like that stuff is just not in me. One thing that, my family tells me about a lot is like, you get over stuff quick, like you'll move on, you'll talk, you'll come around. And that's because like I've always tried to be under the notion that, it is better to be kinder to people than to hold grudges. And when you hold grudges, you're honestly just making yourself mad. You're only burning yourself out, and so I used to always get told, like, you need to get your heart off your sleeve, and like you need to toughen up, and like you need to be this champ. And I was always a gentle warrior. And now I'm learning that my big old heart, my big soft heart and my big soft emotions, like God can still use that. So don't ever feel like you are too soft, or like you can't care for people in your own ways, because it is your life. And if your life is you loving people, then love them at any cost. Don't try to change yourself to be something you're not. And for anybody telling you that you're sensitive and that you need to change, you don't, because there's nothing wrong with being sensitive. I will say sometimes you can be a little bit too sensitive about things. I am guilty. Like, you have to learn how to know when to joke with people, and when people, they are not condemning you. But that also comes from knowing people and like developing a relationship with them and realizing like they have your best interest at heart. Because if they do, they're gonna reassure you, this was just a joke, but like I didn't mean to make you go left field, like I was just playing. And so I've learned that. I've learned to trust God more. If he tells me something, I'm doing it. I'm counting, and I'm learning to get better at it. I'm like, Lord, okay. At first, we fought. Yes, we did. We fought constantly. We fought back and forth. He would tell me something, and I was like, it is not happening. Like, what do you not get? That this is not what I'm doing. And I remember, when I first told the Lord, like, I was going to go to Korea, and it was the time for me to actually get on that plane, I was scared. I was like, Lord, I told you I was believing you for some big things, and I've had to realize in this season, like, this is the first time in my life that I've lived out on faith, and just trusted God with the outcome, truly, in big things and even in small day-to-day decisions that I trust him for, that he has shown me, like, this is exactly where I needed to be. And, I've learned that the Lord will shake up your life, and he will allow things to happen to show his ultimate grace and mercy for your life. And he will allow things to happen in your life to show you that that is not his plan for you. And you need to redirect and center yourself and find out what his goal is for you. And I keep hearing this scripture, it is hard to kick against the pricks, And I was telling my mom, I wish I would stop hearing that. But like, I've heard it referenced a lot this past month, and even I know it. It's hard to kick against what God wants for your life. Cause I don't know. I think I've said it here. Pretty sure I have, but I did not want to come back and do this. I had tried this, okay? I tried this like 3 years ago, and it wasn't for me, and it wasn't working out. Like, everything about it, the delivery was wrong. I couldn't really find content to do behind it. Mentally, emotionally, I thought I was ready, but I quickly learned between 3 takes that I was not ready. I just was not ready. So coming back here again and sitting in front of this camera again after the first time, it is truly quite funny to me, because I just assumed that, this part of my life was over, and how I saw my future going, none of this was planned. Truly, none of this was planned. But the Lord had a way of smiting me off my horse too. just zapped it and let me have it in the gentlest of ways. The fall was gentle, but I have learned in this season how to view God, and how to really know that, all these bad things that happened to me in my life, it wasn't him. It was the enemy. And it was the enemy trying to make it seem like it was God, because if he could just stop my mindset from being focused on the Lord, like, I would beat myself up. I would turn to all the things that, I wasn't supposed to do. And, I would basically just self-destruct. I was on the path to self-destruction, and like I say, I won't be here to officially celebrate it with you, but next month it'll be a year of just like me being free from my porn addiction. And I know, like, I still sometimes get shy talking about it and nervous, because I guess on one hand I have felt guilty about it for so long, but to see this addiction being broken on my life, and like, to just see, because I'm telling y'all, when I say I used to cry about it, and I used to tell myself, and really my grandma doesn't know this, but she told me the story about this lady who wanted to stop smoking cigarettes, and she would tell herself, like, I'm gonna stop, and one day she just stopped. And I would always say, and I say, God, one day I'm not gonna pray to you about this, and one day, I'm not gonna, and because I felt so topsy-turvy, like, I be crying because I did it, crying because I thought God hated me, crying because I'm feeling guilty that I'm crying about both of these things. It was like a constant onslaught of negative emotions after negative emotions that were just beating me up, quite literally. And I was like, I'm not here for this type of beating. This is not the type of beating that I want. And so, it was very hard letting that go. And I've learned in this season how to sacrifice, to truly sacrifice for God. And once again, I'm pretty sure there's more levels to it, but I have learned to sacrifice for him, because in the end, as long as he is happy and he is pleased with me, like, that's literally all your girl can care about. And I think the biggest thing that I have learned is just simply that it's okay to be me. I'm beautiful. Beauty is not skin deep. Beauty goes so much more in depth than that. A person could look great and not be beautiful at the same time. And that is a wonder of the world. But I have learned to love myself and appreciate everything that I am. I may not be everybody's cup of tea, but that's okay, because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. And, When a lot of times I've been looking for validation out of people, but I don't need their validation because the Lord has validated me and He has counted me as righteous and He calls me His friend, and when I do content, I'm doing it for Him because He is delighted in it, because He is speaking through me, because He is here beside me. When everybody else left and when everybody else had something to say and when everybody else turned their back on me and made me feel like I wasn't enough, that was the perfect moment for the Lord to come and be like, you are more than enough. And I love you. And I see you for right where you are. And I want you just like this. And to have a man, to have a God see me in all my brokenness and tell me that He loved me, even looking how I was looking, even messed up and assuming the worst about Him because I didn't know any better. He still wanted me in that moment and He was still pleased with me. Even then, when I didn't know how I was going to get it together, and even then, when my life was completely thrown upside down and in shambles, He still wanted me, even then, and He was still pleased with me. Even then. So, in everything I do and in any way I live my life, I just truly believe it is well because He was and He is pleased with me. And I've had to realize and I've had to learn in this past season, being Sama is enough. It is enough for the Lord. It is enough for me. I don't have to be the best. Yes, we should all strive to be the best version of ourselves. And I want to be the best version of myself. But I don't have to be in competition with anybody. This is not a competition. This is not a race against other people. We are just walking with the Father and we are just getting it together. So please, I hope you can be encouraged from that. Just trust God. It can be scary. It can be hard. You don't always see your way. You don't always feel like you're making progress. Shoot, one day you can maybe up and the next day you feel like, okay, this was a real reset. But no, even in those moments, like the Lord is working, and as long as you hold your hand and you trust in Him and you truly let Him lead you, you're going to come out victorious on the other side. And He has taught me about faithfulness. He has taught me about trust. And to me, these are still lessons that we're going to learn going forward. But I just feel like in this past season of my life, to wrap it all up, I've learned how to be myself and I've learned how to love myself and accept myself for who I am. And I've learned that in the Lord's eyes, truly it is enough for me to be who I am and how I am. And when He sees me, He doesn't see faults in me. When He sees me, He sees the blood that His Son shed for me. He sees a daughter that He calls His own, and He sees a wife. Hello, I am a wife, okay? That is my husband. He is coming back for a bride. All right, like there's royalty all around me. There's no debating it. So a few scriptures that I want to give you. First is James 1. My brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into divers temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. Okay, the second one is John 16:33. Jesus is speaking. These things have I These things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Okay. Romans 8:28. And we know that all God, to them who are called according to His purpose. Okay. Proverbs 3. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not into thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct thy paths. Okay, next we're going to 1 Peter. But the God of all grace, who hath called us unto His eternal glory by Christ Jesus, After that ye have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you. The last one is in Philippians. Philippians 4, 6 through 7. Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. And the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. So as I bring this to a close, I just want to say I chose those scriptures because I just want to leave you with this thought. Until I come back, and even when I come back, I will drill it into you more. You're going to have trouble in this life. That is not something that is meant to scare you or worry you or shake you up. It is just fact. We have trials and tribulations that we face because they are getting us ready. They are honing things within us and making us our best selves. And above all, it is showing us continually God's grace and His mercy and His sovereignty and His love for us, to walk with us and to ultimately show that it is Him who is fighting our battles anyways. Sometimes He will equip you and be like, you take this, okay, because I've given you the tools. But ultimately, God, He fights our battles, and He is our champion and our defender, and we are called to live this life for Him and to show His love and to show His kindness to each other, and to have a beautiful life. God didn't intend for us to just have this horrible, harsh-filled life with all these rules and regulations. That's why Jesus came, and that's why we don't have to worry about the ridicule of the law and of the system and of things like that. We are free. We were bought with Jesus's blood, and we are free. So just be encouraged that even though this season, wherever you are in your life, may seem hard, know that there is an ending point, and know that things are going to get so much better. And I believe it too. Any day, anything can change for you. It takes one day, one chance interaction, one chance encounter, one moment. That's all it takes. It took one look for Jesus to look at you and decide, that's my baby right there, So be encouraged, friends. Your 4 bullet points are: 1, God is the most important relationship in everything you do, because that's something I've also realized in this season, is that if you don't have a good relationship with God and you don't know His nature and His characteristics, you will never know how to discern what true love is and what a good true friendship is, or a good relationship of any kind. It truly starts with God. So if you look around and it seems like your human relationships may be faltering or up in the air or up in the mist, work on what it is that's going on with you and God, because maybe the issue lies there. Number 2, or maybe they just don't need to be in your life. Number 2, let God into the confusing, muddy places. There have been some questions that I've talked back to the Lord about, and there have been some scenarios that He's put in my mind, and it has just left me ultimately, utterly flabbergasted, because I didn't know how to answer it, because I think I felt like Job. Is it my logic and my reasoning and understanding, or are you actively telling me this? And I do believe that He is trying to stretch my mind in ways and reveal to me ultimately, you cannot put God in a box. He is so much, and I think it just shocks me, because if He says something to me, I would expect a human to say this to me, but not God. That sounds so funny saying. And one of the main rebuttals that He gives me is, I am the one who made you. I made the humans, and you're gonna sit here and act like this is foreign to me. I've seen so many lifespans, and I've seen so much, and here you are with just 27 years under your belt, and you still think that you have me figured out. So sometimes He will put something on your mind that just make you be like, help me unravel this, because I've had to sit with Him in some moments where I didn't understand, or sit with Him and talk to Him about some things that just kind of perplex me. And letting him see, because God knows you anyways, but I feel like it's that submission, and it's you like allowing him to come and to see you for what you are and to see the situation for what it is. He is not one to intrude or impose on your life, and if you want to make your own decisions, he's gonna let you do that. But when you invite him in and say, okay, come work with me, like, it's so much sweeter, because now you're establishing a partnership and you're giving him access to you and you're giving him something to work with. Okay, number 3, put more value on yourself. You have to remember who it is you are. Stop letting people label you. Stop letting people tell you who you are, what you can do, what you can't do, who you can and can't be, how you can move. Like, your life is ordered in the steps of our Father. He orders your steps. He is the author of your life. And if he is telling you one thing, don't listen to other people. Value yourself, believe in yourself, trust that you can form your own notions and your ideas. Trust that what's best for yourself too, and trust that if God told you that you can do this and he has given you the tools, you can, and you don't need anybody else's confirmation about your life. Trust yourself, confirm yourself, love and believe in yourself. Be gentle on your mental, because truly it starts with you, and it matters what you think. And if you don't value yourself, having other people value you is not going to go any way you planned it. You're never going to believe that they value you. And at the end of the day, when you let other people dictate and determine who you are and how you are, when you sit alone by yourself, how are you going to know who you truly are? Do you like it because you truly like it, or because they told you to like it? Last one. Answer me this. What is it that you've learned in this season in your life? Please let me know. What is it that the Lord has shown you? What is it in this life, in this season, that you're like, yeah, okay, I can see how I needed that lesson and how it is improving me. So thank you guys so much for rocking it out with me always, and for watching. I always get tickled pink to see more people coming in to see what I have to say, because baby, let me tell you, I never thought that the Lord would want to use me for such a purpose, for such a time as this, as the dude told freaking Esther, but as Mordecai told Esther. But it seems that, yes, I have been called for such a time as this, and I am truly grateful. And so while I take this break, know that you can catch more content on my page. I will be back. I promise. I'm not going to give up on this. I'm going to think about more Bible stories and inquire of the Lord what it is he would have me to say. I do truly love my podcast, but at the same time, I am very happy to wrap up another season. I just feel like, wrapping this up, it just feels like success. I've done right by the Lord. I've put in my work. At least I feel like this, Father. You have to show me approved, but I just feel like, I've done great, and it's been fun talking to you guys, and hopefully I've made you think about things and expanded your minds in ways you could be like, well, I wonder how is it that I'm really viewing God, because seeing him through the correct lens is so important, because having a relationship with that man, the peace it gives you, the serenity. Every day won't be like that, but there's a lot of great moments there. And you're good always, you're bad with the Lord. So I will do the great things I draw. I'm going to be finishing up this and a Pox perspective this week. So the great things I draw will be back after Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way, and Merry Christmas to you and your family, and Happy New Year. I hope you enjoy all of your holidays, since I will not be on here to say it to you, but if you check out other things, I will still be around to say it on there. So please go look at my rambles. I do makeup content. I have the great things I draw, and I do little series on TikTok and stuff like that. So just if you want to keep up with those things while I'm away from here, you can find me there. But ultimately, this is all about the Lord, and just about viewing the stories of his children and how we are like his children, even in this day and age, friends. So thank you so much. Thank you for joining me. This is a long episode, I know, but thank you a million times for watching this. Please comment what it is that you've learned. I would love to hear from you and to read like what the Lord is doing in your life. Please just comment and say hey. If you just want to say hey, baby girl, say hey to me. Please kiss me with that like button. Please subscribe and turn on the bell notifications for when I post. And as always, my beautiful dandelions, please do remember that the Lord... Oh, really quickly before I go, I had this dream. And in this dream, so the premise... Okay, I was at this concert with my mom and my aunt. And I had this doll, and it had pink hair, like one of these guys on stage. I guess it was a K-pop concert I went to. And so I was giving this doll to the guy that was like one of the singers, and he was acting like he didn't want the doll. And so I was like, I can take this back home. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't got to keep my doll. And so I was pondering why it was that he was kind of seeming to be a little mean towards me. And the Holy Spirit, I believe, was like, it wasn't you. Like, you didn't do anything wrong. He just didn't want you to know how you had affected him. And so I ended up talking to this girl that I knew in high school, and I was telling her to keep in touch with me. And then there was 3 other girls that I saw, and like one of them, she used to actively try to bully me. And I walked by her and I was twisting, you know, and like showing off the fact that I've lost weight and, you know, feeling myself and all this and that jazz. And so I get into this car, my aunt's driving, my mom's in the passenger seat. I put my head down in my phone. I'm looking on social media, and I noticed that I had 3 friend requests. One was from this guy I really don't know, but he was famous. One was from this dude that I knew in school and went to school with. And one was from an old friend of mine. And so I was debating on if I was going to add the old friend back. And they had copied a look that I had did. But the look that I had, for whatever reason, I had a silver cross on my forehead. And I saw that we were in Florida for this concert, and like 49% of people had liked these posts that I had posted. And so anyways, it was dark. And I remember looking up because my mom asked my aunt if she knew how to get back to where we need to be. So my aunt was like, yeah, let me just get to this particular place, and then I'll GPS. Let me get to like this factory, and then I'll GPS the rest of the way where we need to go. And so my mom and my aunt were trying to take a picture of the sky, and the sky was tinted like, it was dark blue, you know, like a nighttime sky. There were stars everywhere. But have you ever seen the aurora where they have like those green northern lights above it, you know, and it kind of tints green? And so I was seeing these shadows and stuff, and it looked like 2 snakes. That's what I just thought. I was like, dang, it looked like 2 snakes in the clouds. Because one thing I have been told a lot, like in real life, is to look up at the clouds. And you know, I've taken and caught pictures of the clouds looking not so friendly. If you want to know about that, I can get into that next time. But I've seen some things in the clouds that have just left me a little bit baffled. Cause what? But so anyways, I take a picture for them, and so I give the phone to my mom, and we pull over at the store, and she zooms in. And so my aunt is saying how this is gonna fit into her calling, you know, and she's not gonna tell a particular person about it yet. She's gonna wait because it's gonna wrap in her calling nicely. But when my mom zooms in on the picture, y'all, I saw this blue-green dragon serpent. Had the body of a serpent but the head of a dragon, and like was roaring at me because I was the one that seen it. Then in front of him was like a half man, half animal thing. He had the upper body of a man, of a shirtless man, but the lower part were like hoofs. He had a tail, and he had something gold in his hand. And in front of him there were 2 naked ladies. Okay, on the other side there was another creature who looked like him, but I can't remember it, like if the creature had like black hair. I think the creature had black hair, and this one had brown hair, the half man half beast. And in between them there was this temple I've seen these temples in China, like in Asia. There was this temple and it had these doors open and you couldn't actually see in the temple. It was dark, and then there were like little people on these chariots, but there was no horses on the chariots, and the whole picture was kind of like crossed up in green rope. And so my mom was like, you need to draw this out. And so I drew it. When I woke up, I actually drew it because it was shaking me up. And so I think I finally deciphered the dream meaning. And so I just want to cautionarily say to you, in whatever it is that you are indulging in, whether it be music, K-pop, anime, Rick and Morty, Family Guy, whatever it is you are getting yourself entangled with, make sure you don't worship it as an idol, okay? Nothing is more important than the Lord. Nothing deserves your time and your attention and your mental space more than God does. So be very careful about the things that you make idols in your life, because that can be very destructive and it can trip you up if you are not careful of it. And two, things can deceive you and not appear to be what they are. So once again, just saying, like, in things you indulge in, make sure the spirit of it is good, because there are demons out there and principalities that will fight you and that will like try to make your life a living heck. And so I don't want to scare nobody or like throw you off into the deep end, but I do want to warn you to just be cautious of anything you're going to give your time and energy to, because there's an enemy out there that we are fighting, and you just need to be vigilant. That's all. So that's all. I'm not telling you not to go enjoy anime or like not to listen to the songs, because I listen to songs and I watch anime, but still you need to be careful of the things that you are prioritizing and make sure that you don't make it an idol and place it above God, because He is the most important and He is a jealous God, and so to just be careful, please. Be mindful of the things you are entertaining, and be mindful that not everything you want to be good for you can be good for you, but as long as you put the Lord first and as long as He goes before you and you pray to Him and you talk to Him about those things, He will never lead you astray. So that is my little spiel. I know this has ran over very long tonight, but I did tell the Lord like I would give a warning about that, and I would speak truthfully from my heart. So thank you guys so much once again. If you haven't hit the buttons already, hit those things. Give me love, kiss me with the likes, subscribe, all that jazz. Now finally, until next time, please always remember that the Lord does love and bless you. May He keep you. I love you, and I hope wherever you are and at whatever time you're viewing this, you have an incredible day or an amazing night. Goodbye, guys.